Imagine this. You're standing in the middle of a charged argument. Your pulse quickens, and every word feels like a dagger thrown at your opponent. Each sentence is crafted with precision, designed to prove you're right, but they're doing the same thing. Neither of you is listening. You're just waiting for an opening to strike back, and then he steps in. He doesn't take sides or offer advice. Instead, he leans close and whispers something unsettling. You've already lost. What does he mean? You're fighting hard, defending yourself, standing firm. How could that mean defeat? Because according to him, the moment you engage in battles like these, you've surrendered your true power. True strength, he argues, isn't about winning arguments. It's something far less obvious, but infinitely more profound. So what is this hidden power? Why does silence often speak louder than words? Let's dive into his philosophy and uncover the secret weapon that gives you real control. Most people believe power comes from dominating conversations, winning debates, proving others wrong, and asserting dominance through sheer force of rhetoric. But our philosopher had a radically different view. For him, power wasn't in the words themselves, it was in control. Why do we argue in the first place? Think about it. Have you ever stopped mid-argument to ask yourself why you're even engaging? According to our thinker, most arguments aren't about truth. They're driven by deeper psychological needs. Ego protection, for instance. When someone challenges us, it feels like a personal attack on our identity. Accepting we might be wrong can feel like losing a part of ourselves, so we resist fiercely. Then there are power struggles. Many debates aren't logical exchanges, they're battles for dominance. Who gets the last word? Who controls the tone? Who makes the other person back down? Even social validation plays a role. Some argue not because they believe their point, but because they crave approval from others. All of these behaviors, he believed, reveal weakness. The moment you let someone provoke you, you've handed them control. This brings us to his famous concept, the will to power. Often misunderstood as brute dominance, it's actually about mastering reality. This mastery doesn't always require loud declarations or aggressive posturing. Sometimes the strongest form of power is choosing not to react. Enter the Übermensch, the ideal individual who rises above petty reactions. Unlike the average person, the Übermensch doesn't argue just to win or prove a point. They choose when to engage and when to remain silent. Why? Because power isn't about talking, it's about controlling the entire interaction. Picture a meeting where two colleagues are locked in a heated debate. One is loud, aggressive, desperate to prove they're right. The other stays calm, listens intently, and only speaks when absolutely necessary. When they finally do weigh in, their words are sharp, well-timed, and shift the direction of the conversation entirely. Who holds the real power here? Our philosopher would say it's the one who remains composed, not reacting emotionally, but staying firmly in control. Emotional reactivity is a trap. Self-mastery is freedom. Silence, when wielded strategically, is not weakness. It's a psychological weapon. Used correctly, it forces the other person to reveal more about themselves. It creates uncertainty, making them second-guess their own position. It builds tension, which makes people uncomfortable, and discomfort grants you control. The Übermensch doesn't simply stay silent during arguments. They use silence as a tool. A pause, a moment of restraint, a perfectly timed response. All of these can flip the script in their favor. This is why our philosopher saw power as mastering the battlefield before the fight even begins. Silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's a deliberate choice, a weapon used by history's greatest minds to dominate battles of intellect, business, and war. Let's explore three legendary figures who embodied this principle: Socrates, Steve Jobs, and Miyamoto Musashi. Socrates, winning without fighting. Socrates never engaged in traditional arguments. He didn't shout or force his opinions onto others. Instead, he employed a technique so powerful that it still shapes intellectual discourse today: the Socratic method. Imagine this. A proud politician boasts about being the wisest man in Athens. Instead of directly challenging him, Socrates asks, "What is wisdom?" The politician eagerly tries to define it, but with each question his answers crumble. By the end, he realizes he knows nothing about the very concept he claimed expertise in. Socrates understood a fundamental truth. People don't accept what you tell them. They only accept what they discover themselves. Instead of shouting matches, ask questions that lead others to question their assumptions. That's the essence of silent power. Steve Jobs, controlled conflict. If Socrates dominated through questioning, Steve Jobs mastered controlled conflict. He didn't avoid arguments. He orchestrated them. His leadership style wasn't about debating every detail. It was about steering the larger conversation. Jobs followed a simple principle. Don't waste energy on unnecessary fights, but go all in when something truly matters. Take the iPhone design debate, for example. Engineers wanted physical buttons. Jobs envisioned a full touchscreen. Rather than endlessly arguing, he led them to see his vision. He allowed them to express concerns, address doubts, and ultimately arrive at the conclusion themselves. Jobs didn't tell people what to think. He made them believe it was their idea all along. Miyamoto Musashi, winning before the fight begins. Now let's step beyond philosophy and business to the battlefield. Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated samurai, understood a simple truth. The best way to win a fight is to never draw your sword. Many of Musashi's victories were psychological. Consider his duel against Sasaki Kojiro. Instead of arriving promptly, Musashi showed up hours late, intentionally provoking Kojiro's anger. By the time they faced off, Kojiro's emotions clouded his judgment, leading to mistakes that cost him the duel. Musashi proved that patience, silence, and psychological dominance are often more potent than brute force. Our philosopher would agree. The Übermensch controls the reactions of others, ensuring they play into his hands. Why do humans get trapped in arguments? It boils down to psychology. Arguments aren't logical. They're emotional. Cognitive biases warp our perception. Confirmation bias makes us seek information that supports what we already believe. The backfire effect causes us to double down when challenged. And the Dunning-Kruger effect means those with limited knowledge often have unwavering confidence in their opinions. These biases render most arguments pointless. No one listens. They just wait for their turn to speak. Emotional triggers also play a role. When someone disagrees with us deeply, it feels like a personal attack. Debates about politics, religion, or philosophy escalate quickly because people feel their very identities are under siege. Powerful individuals understand this dynamic. They never argue emotionally. If someone can make you react emotionally, they control you. Finally, ego drives many arguments. People don't just want to be right. They want to be seen as right. The Übermensch rejects this need for validation, creating their own truth instead. History's most influential figures didn't waste time arguing with critics. They focused on their vision, ignored distractions, and let their actions speak louder than words. Silence is powerful, but should you always stay silent? Not necessarily. Wielding silence indiscriminately can be as foolish as speaking without thought. Real power lies in knowing when to engage and when to hold back. Conflict avoidance isn't wisdom. It's fear disguised as restraint. Mastering conflict means using it as a tool. The Übermensch doesn't shy away from necessary battles. They welcome challenges because struggle breeds growth. A warrior who never enters battle will never become battle-ready. Similarly, a mind that's never challenged remains weak and fragile. There's a critical difference between arguing to prove you're right and arguing to shape reality. The greatest leaders and thinkers don't avoid arguments, they use them strategically. Socrates questioned until beliefs collapsed on their own. Jobs pushed boundaries to drive innovation. Musashi unsettled opponents before the duel began. Here's when to engage. When the argument sharpens your thinking, reveals deeper truths, pushes for growth, or shifts power in your favor. Here's when to stay silent. When you're defending your ego, facing someone unwilling to change, or caught in a pointless emotional battle. True power isn't found solely in silence. It's in knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering you only have 100 words left to say in your life. Would you squander them in heated arguments or meaningless debates? Or would you choose them carefully, like a warrior sharpening their final blade before battle? Words are currency. Spend them recklessly and they lose value. Use them wisely and they become priceless. Next time you find yourself in an argument, pause. Observe. Watch how the other person reveals their weaknesses, fears, and insecurities through their words. Then, when the moment is right, choose your words like a master, or don't speak at all. True power is silent. Want more insights into philosophy, psychology, and power? Hit subscribe and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a deep dive into the ideas that shape how we think and live. Stay sharp, stay powerful,